Released in 2012, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 was not just another Call of Duty game. It was one of the most ambitious entries in the franchise. Developed by Treyarch, Black Ops 2 took the series into the future, introducing futuristic weapons, branching story choices, and multiple endings. More than a decade later, the game remains a classic. But while finishing the campaign is one thing, earning every single trophy is a completely different challenge. For this Platinum Trophy journey, I will need to complete the campaign on veteran difficulty, unlock every mission challenge, master the Strike Force missions, and clean up dozens of miscellaneous trophies scattered throughout the game. Will this legendary Call of Duty title deliver a fun Platinum experience, or will it become a frustrating grind filled with veteran difficulty, deaths, and endless retries? Today we are finding out as I attempt to earn the 100% in Call of Duty Black Ops 2. So our story begins in July 1986. After the events of original Black Ops, legendary CIA operative Alex Mason has retired from active duty and is living a quiet life in Alaska with his son David Mason. But that peace does not last for long. One day Mason receives an unexpected visit from his former CIA handler Jason Hudson. Hudson brings troubling news. Frank Woods, Mason's longtime friend, fellow operative, has gone missing while investigating an arms smuggling operation in Angola. Determined to find him, Jason and Hudson head to Africa, where they join forces with Jonas Savimbi and his UNITA rebel fighters. Together they launch an assault against the opposing MPLA forces, battling through intense firefight in search of Woods. Their mission eventually leads them to barge floating along the Cubango River. After fighting their way through waves of enemy soldiers, Mason and Hudson finally locate and rescue Woods. But their victory is short-lived. During the operation, the team comes face to face with a dangerous and mysterious Nicaraguan arms dealer named Raul Menendez. Just when the situation seems homeless, Savimbi and his forces arrive to pull the team to safety, and that's when a shocking revelation comes to light. The man responsible for Wood's capture all along was Raul Menendez himself, the very arms dealer they had just encountered. After completed this mission, I got 2 achievements. Now, one of the coolest things about Black Ops 2 is that the story constantly jumps between the past and the future. While the missions in the 1980s shows how Raul Menendez rose to power, the future missions reveal the consequences of everything that happened years later. So after the Angola mission, we fast forward to the year 2025. This time we are playing as David Mason, the son of Alex Mason. He is now a member of the Joint Special Operations Command. Their objective is simple: locate information on a mysterious and incredibly valuable technology known as Celerium. The mission begins with Section and Harper making a dramatic descent down a massive cliff, Face using advanced nano gloves and a rappel line. Once they regroup with Salazar and Crosby, the team takes to the skies, deploying wingsuits and gliding directly toward a remote mountain temple. As soon as they land, Section initiates the assault and the team immediately comes under heavy fire. Fighting through waves of hostile forces, they push deeper and deeper into the temple complex. Eventually, they reach the main entrance. After breaching the massive doors, the team discovers that this is not just an ancient temple at all. Hidden beneath it is a secret underground facility packed with cutting-edge technology. As they battle their way through the bunker, they stumble upon a man locked inside a shipping crate. Realizing he can help them, the team frees him. He guides them through several security checkpoints and eventually grants them access to the highly sought-after Celerium chip. More importantly, he starts revealing critical information about Raul Menendez and a larger plot that's beginning to unfold behind the scenes. But before he can finish explaining himself, he is suddenly shot through the neck. Just like that, any chance of getting the full story dies with him. With questions still unanswered, Section and his team continue fighting their way through the facility, eliminating the remaining enemy forces as they push toward extraction. After linking up with friendly troops, Section finally hands the recovered Celerium chip over to Tommy Briggs for analysis. The story shifts back to the past once again. This time we are heading to Afghanistan. Intelligence reports have linked Raul Menendez to illegal arms trafficking in the region, so Alex Mason and their team are deployed to investigate. Their mission is to meet up with a Chinese operative named Tian and make contact with the Mujahideen leader named as Rahman. The hope is that Rahman can provide valuable information about Menendez's activities. There's just one problem. Rahman is not willing to give up that information for free. Instead, he offers a deal: weapons in exchange for intelligence. As negotiations begin, it quickly becomes clear that the Mujahideen fighters have very little experience using the American weapons they have received. Seeing this would suggest that they accompany the fighters to the front lines and help them in battle. The compound suddenly comes under attack as Soviet forces launch a massive assault. With no time to waste, Mason and the other soldiers rushed into action. fighting to defend the Mujahideen position from wave after wave of Soviet troops. The battle takes them across multiple locations as they desperately try to hold the line. After successful defending a critical weapons cache, Mason and others are called back towards the main compound. But on the way there, they witness something terrifying. A massive Soviet offensive is advancing toward them, and leading the charge is an enormous tank. Through their binoculars, they watch as the armored beast tears through the battlefield backed by countless enemy soldiers. Knowing they cannot retreat, Mason launch a full-scale counterattack. The battlefield erupts into complete chaos. With Wood's help, Mason manages to climb aboard the vehicle and disable it. But when they discover inside is even more shocking than the battle itself. The man commanding the attack is none other than Lev Kravchenko, the villain believed to have died years earlier. And the moment Mason sees him, old memories begin flooding back. The numbers, the brainwashing, everything he experienced during the events of the first Black Ops. For the first time in years, Mason begins hearing Viktor Reznov's voice inside his head once again. As Woods examines the unconscious Kravchenko, it's clear that the past is far from buried. The team drags Kravchenko back to a nearby Mujahideen cave and begins interrogating him for answers. During the interrogation, Kravchenko finally reveals a disturbing piece of information. There is a mole inside CIA. Someone on the inside has been helping the enemy all along. After completing this mission, I got 2 achievements. Before we continue with the main campaign, it's worth talking about one of the Black Ops 2's most unique features, the Strike Force missions. Unlike the regular story missions, these are optional side operations that don't directly advance the plot. However, they can have a massive impact on the story's outcome and ultimately influence which ending you receive. One of the most important Strike Force mission is FOB Spectre. This mission begins with Admiral Tony Briggs and David Mason briefing the Strike Force team on growing global crisis. The Chinese-backed Strategic Defense Coalition or SDC is attempting to pressure Russia into joining its military alliance, and that's exactly the kind of chaos Raul Menendez wants. To stop this from happening, the team is assigned to defend FOB Spectre, a critical military installation located along India's northern border. For the next 10 minutes, it's an all-out defensive battle. Enemies attack from every direction. Keeping all 3 objectives intact becomes increasingly difficult as the pressure mounts. But there's a catch. If any 2 of the 3 objectives are destroyed, the base shield system falls. The massive doors protecting the facility swing open and suddenly the enemy gains access to the heart of the base. Instead of defending multiple positions, you are forced into desperate last stand to protect Point D, the central network server. Eventually, after surviving wave after wave of attacks, the primary objective is completed. If successful, the invasion is stopped, India remains secure, and the country joins forces with JSOC in fight against Raul Menendez. Next up is one of the most important missions in the entire game, because this is where we finally learn why Raul Menendez became the man he is. The mission takes place in Nicaragua during the late 1980s. After striking a deal with Panamanian leader, the United States pays him $1 million in exchange for his cooperation in capturing Menendez. At first, everything seems to be going according to plan, but then the game does something unexpected. For the first time, control shifts away from Mason and into hands of Raul Menendez himself. Inside his home, Menendez is sitting quietly beside his sister Josefina, who is asleep. Suddenly there is a knock at door. The moment Menendez opens it, chaos erupts. A cartel guard is immediately gunned down and the Panamanian soldiers storm the building. What happens next is the turning point of his entire life. One of the soldiers grabs Josefina while Menendez is forced to watch helplessly. When Menendez wakes up, he finds himself tied up with Manuel Noriega standing nearby. But instead of shooting Menendez, he shoots his own man. Noriega cuts Menendez loose and reveals that he was supposed to hand him over to the Americans. Instead, he's letting him go, calling it a favor. Still blinded by anger, Menendez immediately attacks Noriega. He is moments away from killing him when he hears something that stops him cold, Josefina screaming for help. Without hesitation, Menendez abandons Noriega and charges through the village to save his sister. And this sequence perfectly shows just how powerful Menendez is supposed to feel. He is unstoppable, bullets barely matter, enemies fall instantly. His speed, strength and aggression are pushed to superhuman levels. Eventually, Menendez reaches the building where Josefina is trapped, but he is too late. Outside, Wood spots him and opens fire. Hudson tackles Menendez against a wall and then Menendez notices something horrifying. A grenade bounces into Josefina's room. He desperately pushes Hudson aside and rushes toward it, hoping to save her, but he can't make it in time. The grenade explodes. And in that moment, Raul Menendez loses the only person he truly cared about. The mission then shifts back to Alex Mason. As Mason fight through the village, they discover that Noriega has completely betrayed them and allowed Menendez to escape. Woods is furious. His obsession grows stronger than ever, causing him to ignore orders and focus entirely on revenge. After battling through the town, the team finally tracks Menendez down inside his mansion. There they find Hudson struggling to hold him back, and that's when everything falls apart. Woods completely loses control. In a fit of rage, he opens fire on Menendez. Mason tries to stop him. The two struggles, and as Woods attempts to throw a grenade, Mason accidentally knocks it off course. The grenade bounces off a wall and lands directly inside Josefina's room, revealing the shocking truth. It wasn't Menendez who failed to save his sister. It wasn't Hudson. It wasn't Noriega. It was Wood's reckless thirst for revenge, that Mason's attempt to stop him, that caused the explosion. The very event that created Raul Menendez's hatred for the United States. When Mason regains consciousness after the blast, the building lies in ruins. A body bag containing Menendez's supposed corpse is wheeled away, leading everyone to believe that he is dead. But as we will soon discover, Raul Menendez survived. And from this moment forward, every action he takes is driven by the pain, anger, and vengeance born from the death of his sister. After uncovering more pieces of Menendez's growing conspiracy, the story jumps back to the year 2025 for one of the game's most intense covert operations. This mission takes place in Lahore, Pakistan. Right from the start, David Mason find themselves under heavy attack from ISI forces. The mission opens in a flooded marketplace where the team is pinned down behind a locked security gate. With enemy troops closing in, Mason attempts to activate a nearby Claw combat drone. With the drone creating an opening, Mason and Harper push forward. As the two fight their way through the city, they barely avoid being crushed by a speeding bus that comes flying through the streets, forcing them to dive into a narrow alleyway at the last second. Moving quietly through the flooded streets, they avoid detection using an ISI helicopter sweeps the area with powerful searchlight. Eventually, they discover a sewer entrance that leads directly into Anthem, the heavily guarded stronghold where Menendez is believed to be operating. We move silently across rooftops and catwalks, carefully tracking Menendez from a distance while recording everything they can. Before long, they spot Menendez meeting with the local ISI leader. The pair follows them deeper into the compound, listening in on their conversation and gathering intelligence. For a moment, it seems like the mission is going perfectly. Mason and Harper are collecting valuable information without being detected, or at least that's what they think. As they continue eavesdropping, Menendez suddenly reveals just how dangerous he really is. Looking directly toward their hidden position, he exposes a terrifying truth. He knew they were there the entire time. Menendez deliberately allowed them to follow him, and now he is ready to send a message. Using a powerful acoustic device, he emits a high-frequency signal directly towards Mason and Harper. The blast overwhelms their senses and leaves them completely disoriented. Seconds later, grenades are tossed into their position. With no other option, they dive into the water below to surface. At this point, any hope of remaining hidden is gone. Enemy soldiers flood the area, and Mason and Harper suddenly find themselves fighting for their lives. What follows is a massive battle through the stronghold as wave after wave of enemies attempt to stop their escape. Despite the odds, Mason and Harper manage to hold their ground long enough for reinforcement to arrive. JSOC forces finally enter the area and extract the team before they can be overwhelmed. The mission ends when Mason and Harper escaping alive and carrying a valuable intelligence about Menendez's plans. But more importantly, it proves something terrifying. Menendez is always several steps ahead, and every time JSOC thinks they're closing in on him, he reminds them exactly who is in control. With Menendez continuing to stay one step ahead of JSOC, the hunt now leads us to one of the most visually impressive missions in Black Ops 2. This time we are heading to the luxurious Colossus resort in the Cayman Island. Once inside, they are briefed by Farid, who explains the situation. Their objective is to access the Central Records Computer or CRC located deep within the resort and uncover information about a mysterious cyber weapon known only as Karma. The team enters an elevator and begins descending toward the lower levels of the complex. Unfortunately, their undercover operation does not last very long. A group of security guards become suspicious, forcing Mason and Salazar to abandon their cover and eliminate them before the alarm can be raised. With security tightening, the two move toward a ventilation shaft. And this is where one of the coolest gadgets in the game makes its appearance. Mason opens its briefcase and deploys Ziggy, a tiny robotic spider designed for reconnaissance and infiltration. Ziggy crawls through the ventilation system, sneaking past security checkpoints and making its way toward the CRC room. To gain access, it leaps onto the guard, incapacitates him, and scans his retina to steal his security credentials. Mission accomplished. Well, almost. Seconds later, another guard notices the robotic spider and crushes it under his boot. Poor Ziggy did not make it, but it completed its job. Using the stolen retinal scan, Mason and Salazar gain entry to the CRC room and eliminate the remaining security personnel. Finally, they access the database and begin searching for Karma. What they discover completely changes the mission. Karma is not a cyber weapon, it's a person, a woman named Chloe Lynch. As they pull up her profile, they discover she is currently located inside Club Solar, a massive nightclub elsewhere in the resort. Mason orders Harper to locate and protect Chloe while he and Salazar fight their way out of the CRC facility. After clearing the remaining enemies, the team splits up and races towards Club Solar. Suddenly, DeFalco storms into the club with a heavily armed strike team. Without hesitation, he executes the DJ and plunges the entire venue into chaos. Then he grabs the hostage, demanding that Chloe reveal herself. She breaks free from Harper and surrenders herself. DeFalco gets exactly what he came for, and then things get even worse. Hit soldiers open fire on the crowd. The nightclub transforms into a battlefield. Mason and Harper dive behind the bar for cover before engaging in one of the most cinematic shootouts in the game. Enemies flood the dance floor, music gives way to gunfire, and the entire sequence unfolds with dramatic slow motion movements that feel straight out of an action movie. The cameras reveal them heading across the shopping complex toward the evacuation bay. Knowing they only have one chance to stop him, Mason and the team take off in pursuit. The mission ends with a desperate chase across the resort as Jasoc races to catch DeFalco before he escapes one of the most important people in the world. And with Karma now in Menendez's sights, the stakes have never been higher. After the tragic events in Nicaragua, the story moves forward to one of the most heartbreaking, shocking missions in all of Black Ops 2. It's December 19, 1989. Just hours before the United States launches Operation Just Cause, the invasion of Panama. Woods and Mason receive a briefing regarding a new target. Manuel Noriega has become a liability and it's time to bring him in. With the mission underway, Mason and Woods deploy to Panama, fight their way through chaos of the invasion. Despite the heavy resistance, the operation is a success. Noriega is captured, but then everything changes. Noriega is not being taken back for trial. Instead, he is being exchanged for another prisoner. The team is ordered to escort Noriega to a prisoner exchange taking place near the Panama Canal. Who is important enough to trade for Manuel Noriega? Raulmenendez. As the exchange begins, a hooded prisoner is brought into view. Hudson gives Woods a simple order. When the time comes, take the shot. Woods does not hesitate. He pulls the trigger. Prisoner collapses, mission accomplished, or so he thinks. Almost immediately, something feels wrong. Noriega begins snarking, and that's when panic sets in. Woods rushes toward the body and tears off the hood. What he sees leaves him horrified. The man he just shot is not Raul Menendez, it's Alex Mason, his best friend. The entire exchange was a setup. Menendez manipulated everyone and Woods unknowingly pulled the trigger. But before he can react, Menendez appears from the shadows. In seconds, Woods is overwhelmed. Menendez shoots out both of his kneecaps and brutally knocks him unconscious. When Woods finally wakes up to find himself trapped inside an abandoned room, Alex Mason's body lies nearby. Jason Hudson is tied to a chair and a young David Mason sits restrained, seemingly trapped in a hypnotic trance. Hudson finally reveals the truth. Menendez forced him to manipulate the operation. Every decision, every order, everything was designed to protect David from being killed. Now Menendez gives them an impossible choice. One of them must die or all of them die. Menendez shoots Hudson in both knees with a shotgun, and just like that, one of the Black Ops' most iconic characters is gone. But Menendez is not finished. Instead of killing Woods, he decides something far worse. He wants Woods to live, to suffer, to carry the guilt and pain for the rest of his life. The same pain Menendez felt when Josefina died. Then Menendez disappears into the darkness. With Menendez's influence spreading across the globe, we arrive at one of the most tense missions in Black Ops 2. This mission puts us in the shoes of Farid, a deep cover CIA operative who has spent years infiltrating Menendez's organization from the inside. At the start of the mission, Farid secretly communicates with Mike Harper through an internal comp link. Harper reminds him of one thing: whatever happens, don't blow your cover. Soon after, Menendez, Farid and DeFalco make their way into a massive outdoor stage where hundreds of Codis Die followers are gathered. Suddenly, a VTOL aircraft appears overhead. Before it can engage, one of Menendez's soldiers fires an anti-air missile launcher and brings it crashing down. The entire gathering descends into chaos. Using the confusion as cover, Menendez orders Farid to meet him at the Citadel. And from there, the mission becomes a race through a battlefield filled with enemy soldiers, drones, explosion, and non-stop gunfight. As Farid fights his way through Rendezvous Point, things take an unexpected turn. Halfway through the mission, we discover Menendez standing in front of a downed VTOL, and inside is Mike Harper, captured, beaten, and completely at Menendez's mercies. And then comes one of the most stressful moments in the entire campaign. Menendez hands Farid a 5.7 pistol and gives him an order: kill Harper. At this point, we are forced to make a choice. For this 100% playthrough, we choose to maintain Farid's cover, which means Harper has to die. Just like that, one of the section's closest allies is gone. Farid is visibly devastated, but if he had refused, his cover would have been blown immediately, and the entire mission would have failed. Before Menendez can capitalize on the situation, Allied forces suddenly arrive. A friendly VTOL attacks the militia from behind, scattering Menendez's troops and creating an opening from JSOC. From this point forward, control shifts back to David Mason. Armed with advanced quadrotor drones, Section launches a full-scale assault on the citadel. The mission transitions into an all-out attack as Mason pushes through the remaining resistance in pursuit of Menendez. After battling through wave after wave of defenders, Section finally reaches the objective. And waiting for him is something almost unbelievable. Raul Menendez has been captured. But this is Raul Menendez we are talking about. And if there's one thing Black Ops 2 has taught us by now, it's that nothing ever goes according to plan. The world's most dangerous terrorist is locked up aboard the USS Obama, a massive aircraft carrier serving a JSOC command center. The mission begins inside an interrogation room. Menendez sits calmly across Salazar, refusing to cooperate. Instead, he makes a specific request. He wants to speak only with David Mason. When Mason arrives, the two exchange a few words, and despite being imprisoned, Menendez seems unusually relaxed, almost like he is exactly where he wants to be. Before the conversation can continue, Admiral Briggs interrupts with urgent news. The USS Obama is under attack. Enemy drones have launched a massive assault against the carrier. A situation escalates instantly. Taking advantage of the distraction, Menendez suddenly grabs Salazar as a hostage and attacks Mason, knocking him unconscious. When Section finally wakes up, the damage has already been done. Menendez has escaped, and suddenly Mason finds himself fighting a war inside his own headquarters. As he battles through the carrier, Admiral Briggs suggests rebooting the ship's system to regain control of the defenses. On paper, it sounds like the right move, but Mason quickly realizes something terrifying. The reboot will also give Menendez access to critical systems inside the server room. Unfortunately, he can't warn Briggs in time. The reboot goes ahead and Menendez gets exactly what he wanted. And it becomes increasingly clear that the attack on the Obama was not a desperate escape attempt. It was a part of Menendez's plan all along. Eventually, Mason reaches the server room, and that's where the true scope of Menendez's scheme is finally revealed. Salazar was the traitor, the man who betrayed JSOC from the inside, the man who helped Menendez infiltrate their operations. With no time to wait, Mason continues chasing Menendez towards the flight deck. The terrorist leader has already escaped the interior of the ship and making his move. Racing through the carrier, Section finally reaches the deck and boards the departing VTOL. The VTOL lifts off, Menendez is still on the run, the carrier is in ruins, and the world is now closer than ever to the disaster he's been planning for years. After escaping the USS Obama, Menendez finally launches the final phase of his plan. Using the global drone network he hijacked earlier, he redirects hundreds of military drones towards the United States. What follows is easily one of the most spectacular missions in the entire Call of Duty franchise. Enemy drones are swarming Los Angeles, military defenses are collapsing, and the president of the US needs to be evacuated immediately. As the team prepares to move, Marine 1 comes under attack from enemy missiles, forcing everyone into emergency evasive maneuvers. And from there, all hell breaks loose. A missile slams into one of the evacuation helicopters, the aircraft spirals out of control and crashes directly into a military convoy entering the city. And Mason's convoy is completely wiped out. The impact knocks David unconscious. When he finally regains consciousness, the situation is somehow even worse. Mason climbs onto the damaged launcher, begins manually targeting incoming drones, and one by one the attacking drones begin falling from air. For a brief moment, it looks like they are turning the tide. Then the enemy strikes back. The missile slams directly into the SAM launcher. At the last possible second, the drone is destroyed by friendly air support. Enter Nora Anderson, one of the last pilots still fighting in the skies above Los Angeles. With Anderson providing cover, Mason regroups with the surviving members of his squad and begins pushing through the city. The battle has now moved from the freeway into the streets. Eventually, the team reunites with another presidential convoy. Their objective is simple: get the president to safety. The problem, the entire city is trying to stop them. As they drive through collapsing highways and crumbling networks, Anderson continues providing close air support, destroying drones and clearing debris blocking their path. Then a truck slams directly into the convoy. The screen cuts to black. Once again, the Mason wakes up surrounded by destruction. The fighting eventually reaches Downtown Plaza, where LAPD officers and Navy SEALs are pinned down by machine gun nest. From there, he eliminates the machine gun position and opens a path forward. Over the radio, Anderson calls for help. She is the last pilot remaining, and she is taking heavy fire from every direction. Mason promises reinforcement and pushes toward her position as quickly as possible. But before he can reach her, disaster strikes again. A massive building collapses directly in front of the squad. The shockwave throws Mason to the ground, and everything goes black again. When he finally regains consciousness, the radio has gone silent. Anderson is not responding. Thankfully, he is still alive. The mission takes one final unexpected turn. David Mason climbs into Anderson's aircraft. Now in control of the fighter jet, Mason takes to the skies and begins providing air support for the presidential convoy. Enemy tanks, drone swarms, defensive, anything threatening the convoy is immediately targeted and destroyed. Eventually, the president reaches the evacuation point safely. The mission is a success. With the convoy secured and the immediate threat eliminated, Mason ejects from the fighter jet and parachutes safely back to the streets below. And just like that, one of the most action-packed missions in Black Ops 2 comes to an end. After surviving the devastating attack on Los Angeles, the hunt for Raul reaches its final chapter, the last mission. The plan is straightforward: fly over the target, deploy using glider wing, and storm the facility. Before the team can reach the drop zone, a surface-to-air missile slams into the aircraft, and the team is forced to jump far earlier than intended. Mason glides through the sky filled with exploding aircraft debris, enemy missiles, and falling wreckage. Sam launchers continue firing as the Special Forces team desperately maneuvers towards the sky. Somehow they make it. The moment the team lands, they are met with heavy resistance, and Mason has to fight through wave after wave of hostile forces just to reach the entrance. After securing the perimeter, the team pushes deeper into the complex. But eventually, Mason reaches the facility's control center. His objective is to regain control of the global drone fleet that Menendez hijacked. Mason accesses the system, attempts to override them, and fails. The drones are completely locked out. Then Menendez appears. As the world watches, Menendez reveals the final stage of his plan. Behind him, thousands of drones can be seen hovering over New York City, armed, ready, waiting. For a moment, it looks like the attack is about to begin. And then something unexpectedly happens. Every single drone self-destructs. Menendez explained that he never intended to use the drones to destroy America. His goal was something much more devastating. Without the drone network, the US military loses one of its greatest technological advantages. Its defenses weakened, and now Cordes Die supporters around the world are being ordered to rise up and attack. It was never about drones, it was about chaos. Seconds later, the bomb detonates. Explosion kills multiple operators and throws the entire facility into confusion. That's when Mason learns the truth. Menendez is escaping disguised as a US soldier. The hunt immediately resumes following intelligence reports. Mason tracks Menendez to a military checkpoint near the edge of the facility. But even now, Menendez has one final surprise waiting. As Mason approaches, a hidden explosive detonates. The blast sends debris everywhere and severely injures Harper. Refusing to let him escape, Mason pushes forward alone. For the first time in the entire campaign, David Mason and Raul Menendez stand face to face. In one swift motion, he draws his combat knife and drives it into Menendez's leg. The terrorist leader collapses. After the death of Hudson, countless soldiers and millions affected by his actions, Raul Menendez has been defeated. Mason takes Menendez's own pistol and points it directly to his head. The war is over. With the campaign finally complete, it was now time for the dreaded trophy cleanup phase. Before we continue, there's something important to mention. On Steam, Black Ops 2 separates its achievement between campaign, multiplayer, and zombies. For this video, I am only focusing on the single player campaign achievement to get 100% completion for the campaign portion of the game. But here's the deal. If this video reaches 100 likes, I will come back and attempt the multiplayer and zombies achievements as well. Trust me, that challenge is going to be far more painful. So make sure to hit that like button if you want to see it happen. Anyway, back to the grind. The first achievement I needed was Ultimate Sacrifice. To unlock it, I replayed the Achilles Wheel mission. During my main playthrough, I chose to shoot Harper. This time I made the opposite choice and shoot Menendez instead. That single decision unlocked the Ultimate Sacrifice achievement. Next up were the Strike Force mission. During my campaign playthrough, I skipped most of them because I wanted to focus on the story. So I went back and completed every Strike Force mission one by one. First was Second Chance, which rewarded me with the Blind Date achievement. After that, I completed Shipwreck to unlock Singapore Sling achievement. Then came IED, which awarded the Desert Storm achievement. Next, I tackled Back in Time achievement. To unlock it, you need to equip a futuristic weapon during the loadout screen, then complete a mission set in the past. I decided to replace Suffer With Me and completed the level using a future weapon, which immediately unlocked the achievement. After that, I finished the Strike Force mission Dispatch, earning the Art of War achievement. And with that mission complete, something even better happened. Because I had now completed every mission in the game while scoring at least 10,000 points in each one, the 10k achievement finally popped. Next came two achievements that are tied directly to specific story choices: Good Karma and Ship Shape. To get these, I had to replay multiple missions and carefully choose the correct outcome. First, during Achilles Whale, I killed Harper so that Karma would survive. Then during Odysseus, I shot Admiral Briggs in the leg instead of letting events play out normally. After finishing the mission, both Good Karma and Ship Shape unlocked at the same time. Then I moved on to Fallen Angel. Near the end of the mission, there are several flaming gas pipes that can damage your character. Normally, I just sprint through the area without thinking, but this time I carefully avoided every single flame jet. As soon as the mission ended, the Hey Good Looking achievement appeared. And finally, I replayed Time and Faith. While playing as Raul Menendez, there are several civilians being attacked by PDF soldiers throughout the village. Instead of ignoring them and rushing to the objective, I made sure to save at least 5 civilians. Doing so rewarded me with the Man of the People achievement. Up until this point, I had played the entire game on regular difficulty, which meant there was still one major obstacle standing between me and 100% completion: veteran difficulty. Now, if you have played older Call of Duty games, hearing the words veteran difficulty probably triggers some kind of PTSD. Grenade spam, instant deaths, enemies with laser accuracy, the usual Call of Duty experience. But surprisingly, Black Ops 2's veteran mode was not nearly as brutal as I expected. As long as you play patiently, stay behind cover, and avoid rushing into fights, most encounters are completely manageable. Don't get me wrong, I still died plenty of times, but the difficulty felt fair rather than frustrating. Because of that, I am not going to show the entire veteran playthrough in this video. Trust me, watching me sit behind cover for hours would not be very exciting. What I can tell you is that I managed to complete the entire campaign on veteran with a total of 68 deaths. Honestly, much better than I expected. While working through veteran mode, I also used the opportunity to clean up several other requirements at the same time. I made sure to collect every intel piece I had missed during my first playthrough, and whenever possible I completed mission specific challenges to reduce the amount of grinding I would need later. After finishing the veteran campaign, 4 more achievements popped. At this point, I was getting dangerously close to the finish line, but there was still one final hurdle, and unfortunately it was the game's most infamous achievement requirement: completing every single challenge in every mission. For those who don't know, Black Ops 2 contains 16 campaign missions. Each mission has 10 unique challenges. That means a grand total of 160 challenges. 160. Now the good news is that the most of these challenges are not particularly difficult. The bad news, they are incredibly time consuming. Some require specific weapons, some require perfect timing. Some force you to replay sections multiple times just to complete a single objective. And after a while, the challenge was not surviving the mission. The challenge was staying sane. So I spent another 15 to 20 hours replaying levels, checking challenge list, restarting checkpoints, and slowly ticking them off one by one. Challenge after challenge, mission after mission, until finally the last challenge was complete. And with it, the final 2 achievements unlocked. After dozen of hours, multiple playthroughs, 160 mission challenges, 68 deaths, countless explosion, and an unhealthy amount of checkpoint restarts, I had finally done it. 100% completion. Every single campaign achievement in Call of Duty Black Ops 2 was unlocked, and honestly, this was one of the most enjoyable Call of Duty completion journeys I have ever done. The story still holds up, the branching choices were surprisingly interesting, and while the challenge grind was lengthy, it never felt impossible. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And remember, if this video reaches 100 likes, I will take on the multiplayer and zombies achievements next, which is probably a terrible idea, but that's a problem for future me. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next platinum trophy hunt.